Boy, oh boy, what a fun senior night we have to discuss. This is our reaction stream for Auburn versus Georgia. The Tigers win 92-78 on the final regular season game and senior night. Let's talk about the stories, the score, and the stats all coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle to you, our E2C Network family, especially. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, on Facebook, on Instagram, too. I don't know. I can't forget wherever we are right now, but I appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. As I said at the top of the show, it is senior night, always bittersweet, but it is extra sweet on top of the bittersweet when we get to go out with a win for the seniors, a special group that we want to talk about. Obviously, want to centralize around what we saw in this game. We also want to give kudos, credit, and love to our boys who we definitely won't see again, possibly won't see again, maybe some hopefully see again. There's a lot to talk about this game and some stuff that we really probably want to hash out too that we saw that we were probably frustrated by with the pace of the game. So how can you get started? Please do make sure right now that you smash the like button. Is a huge help for us, helping the show get off on a good note. No matter where you are, you can do that. You can also share it. You can also post right now in the chat where you're watching from, your city, your state. If you're international with a War Eagle, let us know you're here. We want to say hello to you and know who we're talking to for this particular stream. Can I just say, first of all, folks, it has been a fun, awesome, amazing, frustrating sometimes at times with Auburn fandom. It is always the case. But I have had an absolutely great time this season breaking down games with you all. Now, obviously, this is our last one, but this is our last regularly scheduled one. We've got tournaments coming up next that we're going to be talking about in post-game shows, but those will not be midweek and weekend shows. It'll be whenever they happen. So I just want to say thank you so much to you all for sticking with me this season and showing up for each and every post stream that we were able to do. We've had some great crowds, and you guys continue to be a great little family within the Auburn family. I also want to give a shout out to our guys, and I'm going to have to list them all because it just feels like we've got so many seniors and people treating this as their senior day. So you've got your graduate seniors, Jalen Williams, Leor Berman, their final days, definitely. And that just pains me that the two guys that got injured, and one did have his season completely shortened, but the other almost had it shortened. Both of those guys, that ones that had the most on the line, are the ones that suffered the worst injuries this year. Thankfully, we got Jalen back, and sad for Leor, but thankful that they get celebrated today. Dylan Cardwell, Chris Moore, Carter Sabera, KD Johnson, and then you even throw in Janai Broom there too, celebrating because I think we all expect him to go to the NBA draft. So 7 guys, Jalen Harper as well. I think that would be the 7th technical senior, and you throw Janai on top of that. If I'm forgetting anybody, please let me know. I just wanted to give them a shout out at the start. Yeah, I think that's everybody. I hope I didn't forget somebody, but just want to make sure that we recognize them for what they've meant to this program and this team this year. And it's going to be sad to not have them around anymore. We got a lot of people checking in. Good to see all of you here checking in with us. Make sure you drop in your comments and questions. We'll address them throughout the stream and talk about them a little bit. Let's also talk about the interesting nature of this game. Completely in Auburn's control. Mainly from the beginning. Georgia kind of fought back every once in a while, tried to make it a little bit more interesting, wasn't able to do that sustainably. But then Mike White decided he was going to play hack-a-shack-it towards the end of the game there and really lengthen this out. On one hand, it's frustrating because you're like, let's just get this game over with so we can position ourselves for the tournament. The other one, it's almost a way to let this last a little bit longer for the boys that will never walk back on that court again. So no matter how you slice it, it is you're going to feel a certain way about it. Get the game over with, but I'm sure those players enjoyed every moment that they got to linger out there on the court because that's the last time they will hear that buzzer go off for them in Neville Arena. I just want to continue to make all of you sad right now. A lot of good people checking on Facebook too. Good to see you, Joseph. Thanks for being here. Man, it was it was interesting at times tonight, hot and cold, a lot of things to discuss. Unbeaten Lake says they had that had to have been the worst final 3 minutes of basketball ever. Nothing but free throws, with the team struggling to hit free throws. I think this is the case. Auburn's been a pretty good, decent, use your words, Kyle, has been a very above average free throw team on most nights. Slow start to begin the season. We'll look at the numbers in just a little bit, but definitely picked it up as the season went on and stayed within that 80% of making them for a lot of the season. Tonight, yeah, a lot of free throw shot and not a lot made. A lot of emotions tonight. Auburn and Georgia get together. There's always emotions. There's always going to be fervor. There's always going to be antics. Same thing if Alabama's in town. And there's also the emotions of senior night. So a lot of that, I think, is at play. Everybody's it kind of had a fun vibe out there too, for the most part. Auburn was kind of having their way for most of the night with Georgia. So we definitely took our foot off the pedal. I know I took my foot off the pedal in terms of locking into the game and paying attention once I realized we were under control. But that 3 minutes, yes, was it was tough. It was definitely tough. I would love for Harper's brother to Jalen Harper, not Jared, Jalen Harper, to make a Final Four. That'd be kind of a cool connection right there to add on top of this season. Jackson says, I guess talking deserves a tech, but grabbing someone's jersey in a first doesn't. I think I'm not understanding the context there, but I understand what you mean. There were some very interesting calls. I feel like, and I really stressed this a lot this season. I didn't want us to focus and harp so much on the refs because I don't want us to be like other fan bases. But the last couple games, they have been overly involved in the game and affecting the flow and the pace of it. Like I said a few minutes ago, kind of find some solace in the fact that it was stretched out for the guys that never would play again there. But at the same token, it was frustrating for us as fans to continue to watch. Unbeaten Lake says rebounding was not good tonight, gave Georgia way too many second chances. I think when you chalk this game up, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but you really have to look at the context of it. Once Auburn had the game under their control, maybe not in hand, but under their control, Georgia was not going to be able to put together a run to really make this a game for the most part. Those emotions set in. The realities are starting to set in. Everybody's trying to have fun. I haven't even brought it up yet. Did y'all know that the putt was made? Again, it happens. Now, the interesting thing is, if I'm not mistaken, I think they keep saying that it happened last year. For those of you that don't know, during halftime, they do a putt contest for a car, and you've got to hit it full court down to this a hole that's barely bigger than the size of the golf ball. And a guy did it again. I thought it was 2 years ago because I believe I was there for that one. They kept saying it was for the second back-to-back times. So I guess it must have been the Georgia game the Alabama game last year, but I thought it was, 2 years ago. I could be wrong. It says second time back-to-back years. What do I know? Anyway, that's a cool thing. You can find it all over the place on social media. We've shared it out. Really cool moment. I hate they didn't have it happen live on the TV, but we got to see the replay of it at the very least. Jackson says, KD talked to a Georgia player and got a tech. Number 55 grabbed CBM's jersey in a fist and nothing was called. Gotcha. Now we got the full context. So much stuff happened in this game. This is another one of those scenarios where KD really lets his KD psychoness come out. He is a former Georgia player. He's from Georgia. These things mean a lot to him, and it definitely comes out and shows. He was probably in rare form tonight. I know I saw CBM, especially after his dunk. He got up really in the face of a couple of players. So some of these things were warranted, and some of these were, I feel like, retaliatory calls more than anything. We're going to talk about the implications here towards the end of the show about tournament seeding, stuff like that. I want to focus a little bit on the game. So if you guys have got thoughts, questions, comments, topics about what you just saw out there on the floor, other than what we've already talked about, drop them in now. Let's talk about some stats tonight. And I want to give you your leading score tonight. And some of you already shared it at the top of the show, but I want to know who is your player of the game. Let me know who your player of the game is. Just a single name. And then in a second comment, if you want to just post why, you can let me know that too. Your leading score tonight, Denver Jones, is 7 for 9 from the 3-point arc. Now, folks, if Denver Jones, I'm not saying he's got to score 21, but if he can get into double digits for us alongside a Janai and Jalen, who seem to be pretty consistently as our best scorers for us most nights, along with a CBM doing what he's been doing lately, we're going to be good. That is exactly what we need right there, is that fourth guy to be getting to double digits. It's going to be hard to beat because everybody else is going to get their points. And even if they don't get their points, they're contributing in other ways that are leading to further points for others. But Denver Jones, just want to give a hats off to him. 21 points tonight, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, shared the ball a little bit, only 1 turnover in 26 minutes of play. Your second leading scorer, no shock here, Janai Broom. No double-double. He gets 6 rebounds tonight. Jalen Williams, 13 points, 2 rebounds. So a pretty good night for him, too. Jalen missing the free throw is shocking. Absolutely shocking to me. Everybody else missing free throws. That's not shocking. He missed 2 tonight, actually. I misread that. He missed 2, Jalen did, which is just it shows you kind of the emotions of the night. All right, so players of the game, Denver. So many people voting for Denver. 7 times. I mean, come on. I mean, what else needs to be said? It is not often that we get to gush on Denver because Janai takes center stage, because Jalen takes the center stage when he doesn't, because Chad has been doing that lately, and whoever. So we do need to give credit where credit is due. I think Denver is the player of the game. Sometimes the leading point scorer isn't necessarily your player of the game, but we don't probably get out ahead of Georgia as quickly without him being so dominant from the 3-point arc. If Auburn can shoot threes like that in tournament games, they're going to be all right. Can we give some love to my man, Jalen Williams, in his final swan song in Neville Arena? Has literally been here since the dawn of time, has probably his most aggressive, fervent, I'm looking at all the dictionary words I can use. Where's can't say it, thesaurus when I need it, with all the passion, with all the everything. I mean, he just laid it down tonight on some tomahawk jams, posterizing people. I love seeing this version of Jalen Williams, and it's not even a version. This is who he is this year. I love this kid. He is my all-time favorite Auburn player. Not even close. You go out like that, you play that way, you overcome this injury, you become so integral to this team this year, and it's even beyond that. It's what you did before when you took a back seat to Jabari because you play similar positions and you didn't complain. You showed up, you worked, you came back. Jalen Williams, folks. Jalen Williams. That's the tweet. That's the post. That's the comment. That's it. Assist total tonight is amazing. Shows how unselfish this team is. And didn't you like some of those really sweet passes they threw, not just stationary, but on the run? Georgia just really could not keep up with it. Men's basketball should have a dunk contest like the the NBA, not the NBA. I thought they did something at, I feel like I recall they used to do something similar to that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought they used to. I'm probably wrong. But yeah, it'd be cool to see something like that if they ever were able to do it. But I don't know that many players these days will do it. All right, the rest of your point scores tonight. Aiden with 4. Chad Baker Mazzara with only 6 tonight. Katie Johnson with 6. Trey Donaldson with 7. Chris Moore with 3. And 10 for Cardwell, double digits for him. Very nice night for Cardwell. Again, continues to have a good rapport with Trey Donaldson. I like that connection. I'd like to see it continue. Maybe. Probably not, but I don't get the impression he's going to come back, but I really hope he uses that last bit of eligibility he has. Chaney Johnson with 8 tonight. A little bit quieter than we've seen him of late, but lots of contributions. And, of course, especially our seniors on the bench all got into the game to say a thank you to them. It was so great to see them out there on the court, getting honored and all that great stuff. All right. I know you guys are itching to talk about tournaments, all that stuff. We're almost to that point. Let's talk about some team stats just a little bit further here. 42% for Georgia, 52% for Auburn. You shoot 50% at home, you're going to win the game most times. 48% from the three-point arc. You have that, you're probably going to win the game. Free throw percentage tonight. This is the first time in probably, I'm struggling to think when we hit below 70. 60% for Auburn, 57% for Georgia. Gag. It wasn't going to probably get flagged on YouTube or something as like unfit to see. I would just vomit right now all over the screen. 60% and 57%. Absolutely awful. And the fact that they were just having the game extended with all these fouls and stuff just made it even more frustrating too. Turnovers dead even, 11, a little bit sloppy at times tonight. For Georgia, you expect that. For Auburn at home, you'd hope that wouldn't happen, but it did. Rebounds, Georgia wins the game 38-36 tonight. So look at that. This is one of those cases where I always stress about the big three, free throws, turnovers, and rebounds. Auburn only wins the free throw battle, and it wasn't even a battle. It was miserable, 60-57. They're dead even with them in turnovers, and pretty much a push. Georgia is ahead in that column, but it's pretty much a push. And yet Auburn runs away with this one, 92-78. It's the way they shot at home. Georgia just can't keep up with them. Let's look at some other stats and see if it maybe tells you the story of what else is going on here. Second chance points are dead even. Bench points, 21 for Georgia, 34 for Auburn. That might tell you the tape right there. Auburn's just too deep for teams like Georgia. Fast break points. Talked about the passing, the sharing the ball. 2 for Georgia, 20 for Auburn. That might be it. Steals are pretty even. Assists tonight, and that was what you were talking about earlier. That might, I just said it 3 times in a row, but this actually might be it. 9 for Georgia. It's pitiful. 29 for Auburn. 29 assists. The ball was shared. For all of the talk about selfish play, for all the talk about hotheads on this team, for all that talk, this is a team that loves playing together and loves seeing each other succeed. And that's what better night to have that exemplified than on senior night. Love it, love it, love it, love it, folks. What a great way to send the seniors out. The last play of the first half was amazing to see how well the team works together. So close that the refs had to double check that it was on time. That's having rapport with each other. That's having connections. This team, as I've told y'all from the very beginning of the season, the way they play is what makes them so special and was why I was ready to call them a definite Elite 8 team before we got further into SEC play. I think that they're capable of anything this year. But what will happen? Well, we're going to talk about that. All right. So we'll come back on the other side of this quick little break in this and talk about what's next. Let me just give you reminders of what to keep in your forefront of your mind about what's coming up next. Tomorrow night, we have the Auburn Experience. Episode 69 is here to talk about everything Auburn, sports, culture, family. Austin and myself back in the saddle. Join us at 9 Eastern time tomorrow night on YouTube. Would love to have you there as part of the live stream and live recording. Then we've got a baseball stream Tuesday night. It's been a little bit frustrating today, but some things to talk about. Ran into a very hot Austin P team, and I've been calling them Austin PV forever, so that's got to be corrected too. But we'll be talking about them after the Troy game on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Auburn Family Night, which is going to be focused all about SEC tournament stuff. And of course, SEC tournaments coming up, other March Madness conversations, live streams are coming up, folks. Saddle up. We about to be busy here at E2C Network, and I hope you're going to come along for the ride. Tell a friend, invite them in, have them be part of the show tonight. If we get the ref team that decides to call a game super close, we won't stand a chance. It will take several key players out of action for most of the game. refs have just been interesting the last couple of games, but hopefully it won't be a factor like it wasn't for a lot of the season. All right, looking ahead, folks. Chris asked this earlier, 4 seed in the SEC tourney. Correct me if I'm wrong. And again, we're doing this on a live stream. So if you're watching the replay, you may be like, Kyle, you got it wrong. But it is my understanding that Auburn has locked up the 4 seed and will be in the double bye situation. Tennessee, Kentucky launched themselves up, Alabama, and then us. I could have those two wrong. It could be Alabama, then Kentucky. But had Tennessee took care of business like we expected them to, it would have been, I believe, Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky. I think. I could be wrong. But as it stands right now, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, and Auburn in the double bye situation. Frankly, I'm kind of glad that we're going to get a crack at Tennessee again. I know that's assuming that you take care of business and you win your first game, right? But I don't think anybody should feel safe in this tournament. And I'm excited to look at the finalized bracket and excited to start talking about it with you all because it's going to be fun. We got a lot to discuss and think about with that, and it's going to be a fun March Madness season. Folks, we made it. We're in March Madness. You got to be excited. Can't wait to make a bracket just for Princeton to break it. Man, you're preaching to the choir here. Before Florida lost to Vandy, I started thinking that maybe they would be the best team to play because we lost to them before, would have given us motivation to avenge that loss. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on Beaten Lake. And I kind of thought that a lot of people would think that this loss for Florida from Vanderbilt is like that fly in the ointment. What just happened against Florida at the hands of Vanderbilt is case in point what the SEC has been like this year. For the most part, outside of Missouri, who is still in misery, nobody is a safe bet to play anywhere, especially on the road. Was the Vanderbilt game, was that at Florida? I believe it. No, it was at Vanderbilt. So if you're on the road, you are susceptible. It doesn't matter. Missouri, sorry, but you're susceptible by everybody else. So to me, I don't look at that as like, I think less of them. I just think they succumb to what everybody else has at some point this season. And that is the SEC just eating itself alive. Locked up the 4 seed because we own the tiebreaker over South Carolina. See, I thought we owned the tiebreaker over Alabama too, which would have put us in the 3 spot. But I'm clearly wrong about that based on what they were talking about on the TV. But it would have been great to get a 3. But if you think about it this way, Kentucky and Alabama, if it goes chalk, everything goes chalk, the top 4 teams make it to the semifinals, they get to eat each other alive. And Auburn and Tennessee get a rematch. Of the 3 choices, I would much rather see Tennessee right now. Not because I'm afraid of Alabama in any way, but just because I know how streaky they can get. And of course, they'll probably get streaky when we play them in the tournament. And Kentucky does seem to be getting it together a little bit right now, which is a little bit scary. LSU currently losing to Missouri. That is not as shocking, but what if they do pull it off in the final game? I don't know where LSU stands at in the rankings. I think they were like mid-tier, but I didn't see them making it this season. UK is playing the best ball in the SEC at the end of the season. They will be a tough draw for anyone. I still think Florida is going to be a tough draw. I think Kentucky is going to be a tough draw. I think Tennessee is still the best team in the SEC, hands down. One loss to a surging Kentucky team doesn't change my opinion of that at this point. Now, if we see a trend in the SEC tournament and they kind of fall flat in their face there, then you kind of go, okay. But if you can shut down Connect, they are still very deep, much similar to Auburn. And folks, if you've looked online and social media, see a lot of people creating videos about metrics. Some of them are a bunch of hooey, but some of them are actually very insightful. And if you'll look at them, you find Auburn and Tennessee very well placed in all of those metrics and those graphs that they're making. And there's a reason for that because they're both deep. They're both well-rounded. They're both have upperclassmen. They've got star power. Those are, in my opinion, the 2 best teams in the SEC in terms of consistency. Alabama can get hot, but they can get so cold. And Kentucky does what they typically do, at least these days, struggle a little bit on the early onset of the season. But once that talent comes together, because it's good talent, it can get pretty dangerous. You want to see South Carolina again? So they would be the 5 spot. That would put us, I'd have to look at the bracket, and I haven't seen it yet. I think they have to wait till these games are over to release it. I don't know if we would get a crack at them in the early onset of the tournament. 8-22, 0-18. Missouri wins out and gets the NCAA tournament. If that won't be proof for everybody else about losing in the SEC was not that bad this year, that would prove it right there. I think overall, Tennessee is the best team for the whole year, but UK beat AU, Tennessee on their home court, and that does speak a lot to them. So Kentucky is doing what Kentucky does, asserting themselves when it counts. That is frustrating to see. So we have covered a lot of detail here. We have talked about something on my thing. We have talked about the game. 92-78. We have talked about the stats, the score, the storylines. We have looked ahead to what's coming up with SEC tournament, March Madness, all that stuff. Got to focus on the SEC tournament right now. But we can take some final comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals that you might have to round out our show as we wind down our time together. But just in kind of a final summary, once again, I want to give a humongous shout out. Thank you. Hats off, whatever you want to say, to our seniors and those that were treated as seniors in saying goodbye to Neville Arena for the final time this evening. Always bittersweet. Thankfully, we go out with a win. But whether you're talking about the guys who definitely have no more time to give, and that's Jalen and Lior, 2 of our fan favorites. A guy like Janai, who probably needs to go now. He came back 1 more year and could have gone in the NBA draft most likely last time. Needs to go probably now. And then you got the guys up in the air. You got your Dylans, your KDs, several others that I'm forgetting. They're slipping my mind right now. You got the guys that don't play a whole lot, the Carter Saberas, the Jalen Harpers. Somebody's slipping my mind. We are going to miss them. Thankful that we get to play with them a little bit longer, that we get to see them a little bit longer, but thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know what it means to go out there for one final time, and I know how hard that is and how awesome that is all in the same moment. Think any of the seniors join the staff? Ooh, good thought, Unbeaten Lake. I think Janai's got a long career ahead of him. I think Jalen, with the way he's performed, if he continues that through postseason play, can maybe find his way onto some professional teams. I have long said this about Dylan Cardwell whenever he hangs it up, and if he doesn't, I think he wants to go try his hand at professional basketball. But when he's done with that, if Auburn does not lock that man up in some type of role, I don't even care if it's for academics. They're stupid. I love my university. I love everybody there. And I'm not going to just flat out say somebody's stupid from there. But if somebody doesn't lock him up in some type of contract, doing PR work, something, part of the staff, they are missing out on a charismatic guy that just will give his being for Auburn. Otherwise, I don't know. How many SEC teams do you see making the big tournament? Well, you got, let's count them out. Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina. You've got Florida is going to make it. So that's 6 right there. At one point, people were saying 9 could make it. I feel like Mississippi State, even though they lost today, if they have a good SEC run, they will make it in. Maybe. Feels like Texas A&M for the most part has fallen off. They were on the bubble. I'm going to say 7. I think someone's going to get in, but those 5 or 6, the 6 that I said are definitely in. So I'm going to say 7 right now just to be safe. Just posted the projected bracket in Discord. Thank you, Jackson. By the way, if you're not part of the Conquer Club, you could be seeing that right now. It's on, I'm sure it's on social media right now, but You can join the conversation in there. So thank you, Jackson, for posting that in our Conquer Club Discord. You can do it by joining down below on YouTube, hitting the join button, or patreon.com/E2C Network. Did all the seniors get on the floor at some point tonight? I believe so. Let's look at them real quick. Jalen, obviously. Janai was treated as a senior. Katie Johnson. Chris Moore, that's who I forgot. Dadgummit, Chris Moore. I'm so sorry. Chris Moore. I hate that I forgot him. He got on the floor. Carter Sabera, Cardwell, and Harper. I think everybody got to see the floor. And that big sub that they did at the end, that was for all of that. So good question. But coaches are usually pretty good about that, especially Bruce. That plug and lob. It's pretty sweet alley-oop that you laid me up. Cardwell should look into coaching. He wants to give back like his elder family did for him. I think he will be inspirational. He's a special guy, and I hope whatever he does, it's something with Auburn, because he's a special dude. I love all these guys, but I think we don't find a way to bring him back into the fold in some way down the line, we are missing out, and we are stupid. So stupid. Obviously, Lior could not get on the floor. Obviously. How cool would it have been if they told him to dress out, though, and just told him to walk out there and just receive the ball and hold on to it, and they asked the team to not do anything, so he didn't have to risk it. You can't do that once they've been, I think there's rules against that once you've been declared out for an injury or something like that. But Lior not being in the game will not diminish what he meant to this team. I do hate that he didn't get to run out there one more time in uniform and knock down a three, because he probably would have had a fun night too. All right, folks, we have had a stream. Thank you so much for being here. Again, 78-92, Auburn wins senior night. We are looking to the SEC tournament. We are looking to March Madness. Most wonderful time of the sporting year is here, folks, and I'm so here for it. I hope you guys are excited too. Stick around with us, subscribe, follow everywhere so you don't miss any content about Auburn, but especially right now about March Madness. It's going to be a fun one, and I hope you guys are going to be excited, aboard for the ride as we continue on into the greatest sporting event of all time, March Madness. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.